Why this guy was hired to shoot you 9 times?
Well, you was paid because someone, felt like that I would potentially do something to them if they kept going in the direction that they were going.
Where were you shot? Which part of the body? Where did the bullet
Oh, man, I got shot in my hand. My thumb came out of my hand, my face.
Shot in the face?
Yeah.
And where did that come out?
Like the two.
Wow, oh my goodness, there's a hole there.
Where we come from in the ghettos of America, it's feast the family. Kill or be killed, nigga. You understand? Only the strong survive, so he couldn't survive.
I dedicate this fight to my brother, Darryl Baum, who died. I'll be there to see you. I love you with all my heart.
It kind of changed my voice too, and this is the voice that sells 8 million records, so I think everything happens for a reason.
50 Cent is just, it's me, it's 50 Cent, you know what I'm saying? It's a metaphor for change. I'm gonna make some changes, but do it myself. I just gotta give them records that's undeniably hot.
Did you ever find out who did it?
Yeah, I knew who did it shortly after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are now where?
Oh, the guy who actually shot me is dead.
On May 24, 2000, Curtis Jackson, who would later become known as 50 Cent, was attacked by a gunman outside of his grandmother's former home in South Jamaica, Queens. After getting into a friend's car, he was asked to return to the house to get some jewelry. Jackson returned to the backseat of the car, and only moments later,
I walked over here to sit in the actual vehicle that my friend was waiting for me in, and the car pulled up. On the side of us, a guy got out the passenger seat of that car, came around behind it, and shot through the actual car.
Where were you shot?
In my hands, my legs several times, like 5 times in my hands, and then in my legs, and then in my face.
his friend, who was also in the car during the shooting, also got hit with a bullet to the hand. With blood pouring all over the place, 50 was struggling to maintain consciousness and was immediately taken to the hospital. Thankfully, all the bullets that hit Jackson's body didn't damage any vital organs, and within days, medics managed to stabilize his condition. His facial wound resulted in a swollen tongue, the loss of wisdom tooth, and a slightly slurred voice. After spending 13 days in the hospital, 50 was released home to continue his rehabilitation there. While it took him almost half a year to fully recover from the incident, the only thought on 50's mind was revenge.
After he got hit, riding around Mac 10 by himself, looking for niggas, looking for preem, it was real. I seen it with my own 2 eyes. I don't get on here, I don't lie about nothing. I tell the truth.
That's not even the most painful thing I went through was the actual shooting. The most pain I've been through was the confusion. Not knowing whether I'd be able to do that for a living after I made the decision to do that, because going back to the hood just wasn't an option. So then it kind of made you feel like the only thing that you could really do legitimately is find the source of the actual problem and just kill him.
But while 50 was roaming in the streets looking for his shooter, karma got to him first. Darryl Hommo Baum, Mike Tyson's close friend and at one point also his bodyguard, was one of the main suspects responsible for the shooting. Baum was shot down only 3 weeks after the 50 Cent incident.
I dedicate this fight to my brother, Darryl Baum, who died. I'll be there to see you. I love you with all my heart. All praise be to my children. I love you. Oh God, oh man, what?
Only a couple of days later, people already started to draw parallels between the two incidents, instigating that the killing of Baum was a retaliation for him shooting 50. But this wasn't the case, and the real reason for his death was later confirmed to be due to completely unrelated street business. While the shooting of Baum was never something of a mystery, it couldn't be said the same for 50. Despite it being one of the most legendary stories in hip-hop history, after more than 20 years, the question still remains the same. What was the reason behind 50 Cent's shooting? But to understand the full story, we first have to go back to 1975. Curtis Jackson III was born on July 6, 1975 in Queens, New York, and since day one, together with his mother, he had to fight in order to survive. His mother, Sabrina Jackson, gave birth to her first child when she was only 15 years old. As a single mother, she never saw Burger King or welfare as an option, and instead of working low-paying jobs, she turned to drug dealing. 50 hardly ever saw his mother as a toddler and spent most of his time with his grandparents, with Sabrina coming to see her baby once a week. But while time with his mother was already limited, nothing could prepare the 8-year-old Curtis for what was about to come next.
At that point, she started hustling to be able to provide for me at that point. And she got killed when I was like 8 years old.
So when you say hustling, she was involved with what? She was...
Yeah, selling drugs.
Selling drugs?
Yeah.
Okay, and she was killed as a result of that?
Yeah.
Where's your parents in all this?
My mom's passed away. She got killed when I was like 8 years old.
Man.
And I never knew my father, so I grew up with my grandparents.
How'd your mother get killed?
Where was your father? Would he run off?
Yeah, I never knew him.
When she passed, my grandmother showed additional attention to me because when she looked at me, she see my mom's face on top of mine. It was the only one of our 9 children that died, so.
The only people left in 50's life were his grandparents, who did everything in order for him to grow up a good person.
If I had one person in the world that I could give everything that I have to and I'd be comfortable with it, it'd be my grandmother. Because I know before she did anything, she'd think about me.
Right.
You know what I mean? My granddaddy, his heart is so giving that he'd give my money away.
From the age of 11, he started taking an interest in boxing and began going to the boxing gym up until the age of 14. While I wasn't killing time in school, I was sparring in the gym or selling crack on the strip. While he had a roof over his head, the family only lived off his granddad's salary, and while it taught him a lot of lessons early, they were still struggling financially.
As far as finance is concerned, there was no money because it was 9 kids. We didn't have much. Like, you know, I grew up with my grandparents. We was living on my grandfather's income. So he was real old-fashioned. He's representation of tradition for me. So he would just come and give my grandmother this check. And I never understood that growing up. I was like, you just gonna give her the whole check? He was like, yeah. And then later, like as an adult, he'll tell me, he said, you couldn't see it and you won't understand it because you was a baby. He said, but when I gave your mama the check, it stopped her from looking at things I couldn't give her.
At only 12 years old, 50 was already dealing narcotics and guns, all while his grandparents thought he was in after-school programs. According to Jackson himself, I became 2 people. One was the hardcore drug dealer in the day, and grandmother's baby by night.
Yeah. Like, and then I had already came from the comforts of my mom hustling and having those things. And then the only people that I see have nice things were people from my mom's life.
I associated everything good with my mom. And when she went away, all the nice things went away. You know, and the only people that I seen that had things that spoke to the lifestyle that I had prior to her, you know, dying was people from that life. So I would see, you know, the nice cars, clothes, jewelry, and different things, and they would appear to have everything from my perspective at that point. And it kind of led me into the same lifestyle that she was actually in. And I started hustling too, because they'd ask, like, what's the matter with your shoes? And not realize that there's no one there to buy those shoes anymore. Right. You know, and they buy your shoes the first time, and then when they get tired of feeding you fish, because after we eat the fish, we're hungry again, they give you a pole.
He started cooking crack at his friend's house, stashed it in his room, and then successfully sold it across the south side. I could break down a kilogram of cocaine into ounces, grams, or any combination of the two. That's how I learned my fractions and metric conversion to real-life applications. The young entrepreneur found a lot of success with it, making anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a day. Coming of age just in time for crack to hit the East Coast, 50 quickly moved up the ladder, learning the business from the street veterans before him. One of those successful veterans was Kenneth McGriff. Better known as Supreme, he was one of the biggest and most feared drug kingpins in Queens, the main leader of a Supreme team, a large crack dealing organization that dominated the South Jamaica scene throughout the 80s and 90s. The team consisted of around 200 members, with Supreme being the head of the organization. Apart from drug dealing, they were notorious for armed robberies, murder, and money laundering. A lot of people idolized and respected them, with very few showing no fear and standing their own ground. While a lot of people kept their heads down when talking to Supreme, Curtis didn't allow this to happen.
There's only 4 niggas that I know personally in Queens that wasn't scared of Preem. 50, E-Money Bags, Hommo, and Big Nose Troy. Preem came to the block, 50 up there. Preem, dude, you know the old school shit. You know what 50 did? Yeah, my nigga.
Do it back, yeah.
Yeah, my nigga.
That's,
oh, you know what the block did?
Yeah, that's what
oh! That's when I knew 50 didn't give a f. And that's when I knew Preem didn't like 50.
50's character seemed disrespectful to Supreme, and the tension between the two was slowly starting to flare up, way before 50 started doing music. Before coming up with the name 50 Cent, Curtis was better known as Boo Boo and did anything to show people that he was willing to stand up against anybody. Early boxing classes helped 50 to defend himself and stand his ground on the corner, but the need for a gun was inevitable. While he claims that he never shot anybody, during an interview with VH1, he stated that he indeed used it multiple times.
Like 50 was just a wild cat, like, you know, 2 guns in that mall. Big boy Benz riding around, and he was 18 years old, so he could still go to high school 17 and pick a bitch up in the Benz, you know what I mean? So he been getting money. He was like a hero in my hood.
Like I started hustling when I was like 12, but the older niggas already knew me, like that's Sabrina little boy. You know, so they allowed the opportunity for me to hustle early. Before I even got a shot at doing the rap shit, I bought a Land Cruiser, you know, at 18, by the time 19, I bought a 400 SE. You know, I saw it crack 100 miles an hour up the block, man.
While he managed to live 2 different lives for some time, eventually it caught up with him when 50 was in the 10th grade. As a way to hide crack pieces from his grandmother, he made a hole in a pair of gym shoes and used it as his hideout. Unfortunately, one day, he picked up the same gym shoes to wear to school by accident and was caught by metal detectors at Andrew Jackson High School. I was embarrassed that I got arrested like that. After I got arrested, I stopped hiding it. I was telling my grandmother openly, I sell drugs. While in multiple interviews, 50 never fails to mention that he never did drugs. As a punishment for the incident, the judge sent him to 2 months in rehab. When he got out, nothing changed, and soon he was arrested yet again for selling 4 vials of cocaine to an undercover police officer, and only 3 weeks after that, police searched his home and found 10 ounces of crack cocaine and a starting pistol. For this incident, at only 18 years old, he was sentenced to 3 to 9 years in prison. Luckily for him, he once again managed to dodge the lengthy sentence and only served 6 months in a boot camp and earned his GED. While boot camp didn't change him drastically, it made him think about the future of his life. He understood that the chances were against him and that there was no future in drug dealing, plus he already had a son on the way, so he decided to shift his path and start writing music for a living.
So his mother was, you know, got pregnant, and it kind of was like, I had to make like a little small transition because I know I can't do that and provide for him and that scenario. So I tried to do something different.
Curtis began rapping in a friend's basement where he used turntables to record over instrumentals until 1996 when he bumped into Jam Master Jay from Run DMC at an upscale hip-hop spot in Manhattan called Bentley's. 50 with a couple of his friends were cruising past the club in his 400 SE Mercedes-Benz, which not a lot of people had at the time, when suddenly Jam Master Jay ran up on his car and slapped the hood. 50 stopped and immediately jumped to assess the situation. When he opened his window, Jay understood that he had mistaken 50 with a friend of his, an NBA star Kenny Anderson, who also had the same car, and immediately apologized. Once 50's alarm subsided, he took a good look at who he was talking to, and was stunned to see Jay, one of his childhood heroes. He got out of his car and started showing him love. After a couple of minutes of going back and forth, 50 decided to seize the moment and asked if Jay was going inside Bentley's, to which he responded, "Yes, I was just about to enter." Within a split second, 50 responded with, "Alright, we coming with you." He caught Jam Master Jay by surprise, but he decided to give it a go and said, "That's what's up, let's go." Together they entered the club, and from that day, a new friendship was formed. A friendship that changed 50's life forever.
And Fifth, you know, at that time he had a Benz. So that's what really caught on to, you know, the art of seduction. If a motherfucker already got money already, listen, a motherfucker only do favors for you when you don't need a favor. Was doing everything a rapper do, had chains, had all that already. Running around with thousands. So Jay f***ed with him because he seen him at the club in a big ass Benz.
When I brought the music back, it was like run-on rhymes. It just went on and on and on. Like, so he was like, he didn't understand, like, he realized I didn't have any idea of the song structure. Like, I heard songs before, but where the chorus was like 3 bars long, and then it went back to me rapping again. So he was like, yo, what's the hook? Like on the actual song, and then we went through it where he cut it and paste like the verse where it would start, the parts that he thought were cool. Like, he liked what I was rapping about. He just didn't like the actually way it was set up as a song. So he moved things around and then let me write the actual chorus. So a lot of people don't know this, but he made me write the chorus of the song 3 times before I could actually start writing the actual rap that went with the actual song. And he would pick out of those 3 which one he thought was the better one, and then I'd write the rest of the song.
In the next couple of years, 50 was improving his writing abilities and started to make his first appearances on tracks like React alongside Onyx.
The only thing I ever lost I couldn't find was time. So the feds locked me up, that's how I lost my mind.
While he learned a lot and was starting to move towards his first debut album, he completely stopped hustling in the streets. So money was still a major issue, and it didn't take long before the money that he saved up had run out. Unfortunately, in 1999, Jackson parted ways with Jam Master Jay, and with the help from platinum-selling producers Trackmasters, he got signed to Columbia Records.
I got $65,000 in advance from Columbia. $50,000 went to Jam Master Jay to negotiate the release from JMJ Records. $10,000 went to the attorney that drew the contracts up between me and Columbia and the release between me and Jam Master Jay. They left me with $5,000, and I was out there for over a year before the record came out. So I was back selling crack. How else you gonna provide? How else would I provide for myself and then be on call and able to be in the studio whenever the company called me to actually be there? Yeah, I went back to hustling at that point, and I didn't make a lot of money. It was just enough to keep a income flow. So it was, you know, even if you at the end of you actually selling what you bought, you had enough to buy that again. You lived off of the money that came in during that time period. So I was just functioning. I didn't have a lot of money during that time period.
And you had sold your car before that? You had sold
everything that I had was gone. It was just the time period because I was actually taking care of myself, my son, mom, and the baby was on the way.
This was a big career move for him, and the record label sent him to an upstate New York studio where he produced 36 songs in just 2 weeks for his upcoming album called Power of the Dollar. Despite dropping a couple of songs, it was hard for 50 to gather the initial buzz around his name, so being the marketing genius that he is, he decided to write a song in which he called out numerous prominent figures in the music scene, threatening to rob them, calling the song How to Rob.
I'm on Columbia Records. I got a release date coming, and there's no buzz surrounding the record. When you're in my situation, there's no plan B. You know, it's music or we sell crack, because that's what we did before we did music. How to Rob record was something I wrote out of desperation. After Biggie and Tupac, artists were talking about each other because the competitive nature of hip-hop as an art form will absolutely force the actual artists to compete on some levels. They will be competing with each other, but from a subliminal perspective and standpoint. So I said everyone's name on the actual record, which was the actual opposite of what the climate of the music was. And it was enough to make the real heavy hitters aware of me at that actual time period. At that point, it probably was the most effective marketing you could actually pull. And then you had people's egos that wouldn't allow them to not respond to what you were saying. So whether it was in a negative way or a positive way, it was creating an awareness of the actual person and making me an issue when I wasn't an issue. I was so far from being an issue that it just didn't even make sense for them to say anything.
While 50 was making his way into the music scene, he wasn't the only hustler who decided to join this lucrative business. One of his role models in the streets, Supreme, who after a couple of stints in prison was released on parole in 1994, also decided to shift his focus to cinematography and music. He reached out to Gotti, who as a Queens native also idolized Supreme, and soon they became business partners, with Supreme becoming a member of Murder Inc. Their business venture had a great mutual benefit for both sides. Supreme was now getting legally paid, while Gotti and the members of the Murder Inc. had protection from one of the most feared gangs in New York. In 1998, together with his brother Chris, officially founded a record label called Murder Inc. Records. The first set of artists that they signed included Black Child, Tamura, Nemesis, and most importantly, the man who became the label's flagship artist, Ja Rule. Irv and Ja started to develop a close relationship way back in 1994 when Ja was a part of Cash Money Clique and Irv Gotti worked as a producer for the group. When it was time for him to open up a record label, he strongly believed that Ja will be the next big artist that will shape the 2000s, and with Supreme backing them up on the streets, the future seemed to be brighter than ever. Unfortunately, in 1999, Ja Rule was involved in one of the most notorious incidents in hip-hop history, subsequently making 50 Cent and the whole murder ring engage in a feud that continued to last for decades. In 1999, Ja Rule was robbed of his chain by a guy named Troy.
A dude that I knew, that I f***ed with, came home from jail. Came on my block one night, seen me on my block one night. Came to see me, rolled up on me. He was like, yo, Rule, what up? You know, whatever. They called me Left back then. He was like, yo, Left, what up? And you know, me holler at you for a minute. I'm like, yo, Troy, what up, my nigga? Jumps out car, we go, walk up the block, we kicking it. He pulls out the burner on me. So now I'm shocked. You know what I'm saying? Because I know this, like I know him. I f*** with him. So now I'm shocked. So he pulls the burner on me. He's like, yo, you holding, you strapped? I'm like, nah, I ain't got nothing on me right now. He pat me, whatever. So he's like, yo, you my girl while I was up north, just that and the third. And I'm like, nigga, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I wasn't a girl. You know what I'm saying? And if that was your girl and I didn't know that was your girl, that's a different situation. I said, but if I'd have known that's your girl, nigga, me and you cool. Like, yeah. I'm not gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a slime ball, nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a creep and shit. That's what that was about. Okay. So he proceeds to say, yo, give me your chain. But he was like emotionally torn. He was having an emotional moment.
Right after the incident, Ja called Supreme asking for help.
So now I'm like, yo, we gonna go over there and, you know what I'm saying, go see these niggas over there on the south side. So before I goes over there, I puts in a call to Black Just and Preem, like, cause that's they little nigga too. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, yo, where's this stupid nigga at? You know what I'm saying? Like, this nigga just came over here and, you know, so this is how this went down. Preem was like, yo, hold on, let me handle this. You know what I'm saying? Nigga, it's not a big deal. This nigga's, you know what I'm saying, he's in his feelings or whatever. Let me handle it, boo, woo. Preem calls me back 15, 20 minutes later. He's like, yeah, I got the nigga. He's over here right now with me. You know what I'm saying? I got your chain. He just came back on the block. I took your chain from him. I got your chain, nigga. Right. And that was that.
Not long after that, Ja Rule was shooting a music video on Jamaica Avenue for his song Murder for Life, and 50 decided to show up to the shoot and show him, Supreme, and all the Murder Inc. associates love, since all of them were from the same block. When he finally showed up, 50 started to feel more like an outsider who stepped on the set, rather than another respected rapper, and while Ja Rule got all the love from everybody, 50 was met with a lot of cold shoulders. The only people who stepped up to 50 were Ja and Black Child, who said what's up and walked away. The same day, all of them met once again at a nightclub, but this time, there was one extra person.
A friend of mine's robbed Ja Rule. And I'm in a club, and I see the nigga, I'm like, hey, what's up? You know, I'm chilling. He see me kicking it with the nigga that robbed him, and he feel like, oh shit, I shouldn't speak to this dude, because I know the kid robbed him, but I know this kid, I grew up with him.
Together with Troy, they came up to Ja Rule and said what's up. Ja was hesitant to respond. He claims that this never happened, but Chris Gotti confirmed this in one of the interviews. Ja Rule, on the other hand, claims that the beef originated from a video shoot for his music video, where 50 didn't get love from the people on the set, with Irv Gotti even saying that 50 was jealous that Hood loved Ja.
50 Cent, it's like, his whole situation came about when I was shooting my second video for my first album, Murder for Life. You know, I was doing a video on Jamaica Avenue or whatever. And I don't know, I've heard something, this is what I've heard. I've heard it has something to do with that. I didn't say what's up to him or something like that. Like he came running up to me like, yo, what up, bro? And I was like, yo, what up? And he hates me because of that. This is what I gotta deal with, man. This is what the fuck I gotta deal with, man. I'm a little
man. Like that's some real gay right there.
50's ex-manager, Chaz Williams, also said that the beef originated from the video set incident and that 50 took the situation personally, which even 50 himself seemingly confirmed in an interview with XXL. When he was asked about the incident, he started going off on Ja Rule and Supreme, saying that people like Preem were supposed to roll with him instead of Ja, because he came up in the same circumstances and was from their cloth, while Ja was a fraud. He believed that he was a studio gangster who faked his way into the industry and was now backed by real gangsters, making the situation unfair, according to him.
Yeah, because the streets looked at it like Ja Rule was getting extorted by Preem. Let's keep it real. Like, you know, like 50 wasn't getting extorted. Like, back then, come on, the extortion game was crazy. You know, a nigga like Haitian Jack come put his arm around you, you know, you might give up some jewelry or something, like, you know what I mean? Or certain niggas come put that arm around you. Preem put his arm around Ja Rule, that's $500,000. 50 ain't doing that. 50 ain't doing that, brother.
50 took the whole situation as a direct jab and wasn't going to let it slide.
I'll tell you personally, the Murder Inc., the people that you see, like Irv, Ja, the people that are involved in the business aspect, it's like these niggas don't got no hood in them.
Oh, yeah, Ja Rule?
Ja was a sweetheart.
Okay.
You like Ja Rule too, right?
No.
Yeah, you do.
No.
You be dancing to that.
I'm not dancing to that.
You be liking that.
Okay.
That's not hip hop. That's
if
R&B.
you think
He wanted to test Ja, but he knew that in order to do so, he had to first talk to Supreme. They met up, and 50 asked about what he should do about the whole situation, to which Supreme responded, "Chill, leave them alone." While 50 wasn't liked by Preem for his attitude, he still respected him and decided to back off. The next time he saw Ja was once again on a music video set for Ja Rule's new song. 50 got a call from a friend in a barbershop who confirmed that he was shooting a video on the Coliseum block. This time, in 50's words, "This acted real funny this time that I see him." He forgot about the talk that he had with Supreme and got back to his house, got his pistol, jumped back on the motorcycle, and was heading back to the set. Supreme most of the time was on the set together with Ja, in case something went left, and this time, it wasn't an exception. He was standing across the street near the post office box when he saw 50 walking down the street towards the shoot. He ran up to him and said, "Hey, come here, don't even do it, I see you." He pulled 50 aside and said, "Yo, I told you to leave them alone. You know they ain't gonna do nothing. These people are my food."
Well, you know what? Afterwards, like, I went to say what's up to him, and he was like, he had this, like, he didn't want to say what's up, and he was in a comfortable pocket because he was already becoming what Preem would make reference to him as his food. So he's like, "Yo, I'm eating off that. That's my food. Leave him alone." You know what I'm saying? So he had became a part of a circle that they're from my environment. They're from my neighborhood. Like, I'm from South Jamaica. He's not. They look at me like I'm one of theirs.
50 once again backed off, but this time, not without escalating it to the next level. Fed up with all of it, he recorded a diss called "Your Life's on the Line," calling out Ja Rule and the whole murdering crew. The song was originally recorded as a demo titled "Nobody Likes Me" and featured disses to not only Ja, but also Nas, Mr. Cheeks of the Lost Boys, and even Supreme himself. He continued to say that Ja is a fake studio gangster who is too scared to confront anybody, and instead asks Supreme for help, a direct reference to the incident where Troy robbed Ja of his chain.
Why niggas who rob you walk around like it's all good? Damn, why you in the Preem to get your back?
In the song, he once again made a direct comparison between the OGs and himself, seemingly seeking approval from the people he looked up to over the years, and who now looks after others instead of him.
OGs look at me and see I'm what they used to be.
50 showed the song to Supreme before its release, and while he didn't care about the lyrics that mentioned him, he once again asked to leave Ja alone and remove the disses. Despite being completely reckless, 50 removed all the name drops from the track. While Supreme did his best to clear Ja's name from the record, the song was still a direct diss towards Murder Inc. and Ja Rule, filled with numerous references to their ongoing beef, and the legendary hook features a direct mockery of Ja's song, "Murder for Life."
Murder, murder, live with it, money, murder for life. Yeah. Murder, I don't believe you, murder, around and leave you.
The song ends on the line,
"See me when you see me, nigga, what?"
And ironically enough, not long after the song came out, Ja Rule and 50 Cent did see each other in Atlanta, where the beef once again reached new peak. The same promoter booked Ja and 50 to perform at the same venue on the same day. Cheslin Williams, who was 50's manager at the time, saw this as an opportunity to finally put an end to the whole situation and decided to invite both men to the hotel lobby and get them to have a conversation.
And when he made the record about me, I didn't think it was funny. He had made 2 records at the time. One was called How to Rob, and he was talking about how he's gonna rob all the rappers in the industry. It was a jokey kind of record, but a lot of people took offense to it. My name wasn't mentioned in that record. It was another record that he made called Murder, I Don't Believe You, or something like that, that set my whole thing spinning. And when we had a chance to see each other, it was immediate brawl, confrontation, because we just don't like each other. The first time we fought, it was over the record. It was over the record he made or whatever, the Murder record. A mutual friend of ours stepped in and seen me in Atlanta and said, 50, it's just a record. He didn't really mean nothing by the record. Ja, talk to him. Will you talk to him for me? So we get to talking, you know what I mean? I get to call nigga all types of niggas because that's what he is, you know what I'm saying? And the nigga, he felt threatened a little bit. I understand that, you know what I'm saying? I have a big voice. I got like a little bat, you know what I'm saying? It's, around my neck or whatever. I'm holding the bat. So I see him, he pulls up. So we get to talking, and the talk got heated because I got mad and I started screaming at him and telling him that, he was this, that, and the third. So I got mad and I started letting him know how I feel. Like, I don't like you, and I don't think what you're doing is real, I don't think what you're doing is real. And so he punched me. He snuffed me. So as he snuffed me, boom, I caught him back. He caught me a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But I dipped it and then hit him with the bat, boom.
Yeah, I had an altercation with John in Atlanta. Okay. And I hit him, but I hit him because what he was saying in conversation was telling me to hit him. He didn't realize that his body language, he was moving when he was talking to me, and that you don't talk to me like that. Like that, I'm just conditioned for something different from what Ja was conditioned for early on. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that that's who he is now, but early on, he was the guy knocking on your door trying to sell you a watch towel. He was raised as Jehovah's Witness. While he was doing that, I'm busy selling crack. It's just the circumstances we was brought up under. If I wasn't hustling, I wouldn't know how I was gonna provide for myself.
I hit the nigga with the baseball bat, took care of him. My niggas jumped on him. We jumped this nigga, we beat him up. I don't go, that's right, that's how we get down in the game, nigga. Ain't no one-on-ones, nigga. You getting jumped, nigga, that's how I go. We whooped his ass right there, blah, 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 blah. His mans was there, they ain't do nothing, so it could have been a fair one, but them niggas was so it is what it is.
And when he went to pull Ja to the side, pull him, away from the guys to talk to him, Ja walked over there with the bat in his hand. And, 50, as they talking, how people sometimes talk and they gesture with their hands or whatever. He may have gestured with the bat as he's talking, and, I think, he raised his voice or something, and then 50 swung on him.
Yeah. And then it popped. When I ran outside, Ja Rule, I was black already. His shit was like this. 50 caught him already. His shit was like this already, nigga. Like this, right here. You see? Look, camera got it? You got it, Kim? You got my man from overseas? That shit was like this. 50 a boxer, caught Ja Rule already. And then I guess the chain pop, he snuffed him in, Southside nigga. And had the chain. Go in the hotel, he showed me the chain. Marquise had it, everybody, his son had it, everybody.
Ja Rule's chain.
Yeah, it was just getting passed around in the hood.
The chain, yeah, I took the chain in that altercation. Out of that, and they did see my little boy wearing the chain. You ask Nas. Nas we don't even cool with each other. He'll tell you that he saw a chain on my little boy's neck.
While both Ja and 50 have their own story of what happened that day, the fact was that at the end of the altercation, Ja was left with one black eye, and once again without a chain. In the middle of the fight, one of 50's homeboys snatched the chain from Ja's neck and returned it to 50, who was just about to go to the video shoot for his song, Your Life's on the Line. To no surprise, he decided to wear the chain during the video, continuing to mock and ridicule Ja Rule. Supreme once again reached out to 50 for an explanation. 50 explained that he was trying to squash the situation, but he had to defend himself from Ja and his associates, which made Prem understand his motives and why it escalated the way it did. But before letting him go, 50 still had one thing that didn't belong to him: Jaz's chain. Out of respect, 50 returned the chain to Supreme, and in return, he gave him a golden watch.
He said chain on my little boy's neck, and I took it off his neck, and they ended up giving me 2 watches in order to give the chain back.
The tension between the two artists was as high as it had ever been. In retaliation for the music video, Ja Rule and the whole murdering started to blackball 50 from the industry by spreading lies.
50 was a genius because we could have signed with other deals, and Gotti was trying to block us in the Universal system. So we had deals on the table, 2 million, but 50 was like, nah, Irv is gonna block us because Ja Rule was still, what would I be without you? The Cookie Monster was still on top a little bit, you know what I mean?
Other thing that I would probably tell young DJ Irv is, let Atlantic Records sign 50 Cent. Because I blocked the nigga till he fell into M and Dre's lap.
Damn, are you serious?
Yeah, labels would call me, and I was so hot I was just the hottest thing. So I'd be like, yo, if you with him, I ain't fucking with you. And they were like, we ain't fucking with him then, Gotti, forget it.
The beef was starting to affect both sides and attract unnecessary problems. Supreme and Chaz, who were both business-oriented and didn't want beef to mess up the cash flow, decided to set up a meeting where the duo would have a conversation once again and put it all to an end. 50 disagreed with the idea and decided not to show up.
Duly note, we did try to eradicate this whole situation. We tried to, pull it together through the hood, because here we are, we figure, we all street guys. So let's police ourselves. Let's call, the heads of whatever street ghettos and then, people that can bring us together, mutual people that could bring us together, and we'll sit down and we'll talk. We all showed up for the meeting. He never showed up for the meeting.
In response to 50 not wanting to end the beef, Chaz, better known as Slim, parted ways with him, along with other OGs, leaving him alone against the world. This kind of betrayal hurt 50, and years later, he even mentioned it in a song called Many Man.
Slim switch sides on me, let niggas ride on me. I thought we was cool, why you want me to die, homie?
On March 24, 2000, the duo bumped into each other once again, but this time in the Hit Factory recording studio. The murdering crew and 50 Cent, Yayo, DJ, and 2 other people were in the same building at the same time, but just on different floors. When Ja Rule got the news that 50 was there present, he convinced Irv, Chris, and Black Child to go and jam 50 in the studio while he waited in the lounge, since he was on crutches after breaking his ankle.
Big room, the number 1 room is in the Hit Factory, huge room. And Rule's like, he's here. He's here. Rule had crutches. He was on MTV. I think he did something on jet skis and messed his ankle up. So he had crutches. His ankle's messed up. And he's like, who's here? He's like, 50. He's here. He's in the building. He's like, and I want to get him. Let's get him now. This is Rule. The end of the day, we're sitting there. I'm trying to keep, Irv is doing the talking with Rule, and he's trying to keep a level head with Rule. Like, what are you worried about? Let's do what we do. And then it hit him like he asked Irv a question. The question was, you not riding with me? And you riding with me? You ain't riding with me? Yeah. And that's when all I seen Irv do was unbuckle his watch. And I knew what that was, so that was it.
Yeah, what's beef? Know what I mean? Beef is when you see a nigga in the studio or wherever, and the nigga want to talk, and niggas was like, nah, ain't nothing to talk about, right? It's like 5 of us and 5 of them, and niggas is getting it on and fighting and bang. Some way, somehow, the lights got hit off, and niggas was getting it on in the dark. It wasn't like nobody hit the snitch like niggas is gangster and niggas hit the switch. Know what I mean? But I felt the gap was in the area and niggas was reaching for it. Know what I mean? And I wasn't letting nobody get to their gun to pop me. Know what I mean? So I started poking niggas straight up and down. And that's the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God.
We get back to New York City. And again, we're in the Hit Factory. And I hear from a mutual friend
that he's upstairs in a studio upstairs. And it got a little violent, you know, a couple of people were stabbed. Went up there, found him in his room, turned off the lights, with a boat, you know what I'm saying, gave a nigga the business, nigga stabbed him, you know, we did what we had to do to him. He's f***ed up, and my man Black Child put in that work. What up, Black? You know what I'm saying, that's what it is, nigga. I had a crutch, I was going across the nigga head with a crutch, real crazy. But anyway, he was curled up in the corner like a little shit, you know what I'm saying, like, you know what I'm saying, niggas just dropping speakers on his head, all type of shit.
50 managed to run out, got home, and let his grandmother take care of his wounds. The next day, he went to the hospital just in case of an infection, where he got 4 stitches and a bottle of antibiotics. The DJ, who was just an outsider to the whole beef, also got stabbed in the back, so when police showed up, he didn't hesitate to file a report.
Lawyers let us know. Now, I mean, niggas was pressing charges. Niggas said that I stabbed them, and then I stabbed a few people and all that. They gave a statement on me. That's the statement that's floating around, that some people don't think it's a real document, but it's a real document.
Subsequently, a restraining order was issued, preventing Irvin Chris Gotti from meeting all the victims of the incident, which also included 50, who never talked to the police in the first place. The order of protection made Murder Inc. and Supreme think that 50 was working with the police and not living up to the street code. Irvin and Chris both got arrested, but were quickly released after 50 didn't show up to the court. Murder Inc. and Supreme deemed 50 as a snitch, and now they had paperwork to back that up. While the papers only featured his name and nothing else, it was more than enough for people to jump the gun and put a label on 50.
What I'm holding in my hand, I'm gonna leave with you, man, is an order of protection. An order of protection for Irving Lorenzo to stay away from Curtis Jackson. That's 50, y'all. AKA 50, AKA informant, AKA I'm telling.
He's a clown for denying it. For denying, because like anybody that really want to dig is going to find out it's true. So how you going to deny a fact? I had called my lawyer and said, yo, send me a copy over them. And we started letting the copy circulate to expose what type of person this, what type of individual 50 is, because he running around portraying a thug and all that. See, if he was rapping about club music and itchy eye, yeah, and some party jump off, he'd be cool, but you can't talk like a gangster and you a snitch.
Well, where I'm from, the worst thing you can actually be is a snitch. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna call you the worst possible thing when you reach where I'm at. The people that, I can remember having about 6, maybe 8 people dislike me, and it was all from Murder Inc.'s camp. All the new people that feel like they dislike me, they dislike the success that I'm having. The discomfort of watching me be repeatedly successful in front of them has made them grow angry with me, you know? So when they say it, if I'm a snitch, well, I snitched on. As far as the altercation that took place in the Hit Factory, because that's what you was making reference to when you said that. I'm not in control over everybody in the room. They was expecting me to be in control over the DJ that I wasn't actually paying at that point. Like there was no finances. This is why I got spanked. You see what I'm saying? And you get spanked at that point because your money ain't right, and you go into altercation. The gangsters side with the weakest party all the time. You know why? Because they can control him. They asked Ja to be sitting down, so he sat down. He's less than a man for him.
Supreme was irritated by the whole situation between 50 and Ja Rule, but while he never liked 50, these snitching allegations made Prem resent him more than ever. Unfortunately for 50, the target on his back was also bigger than ever, and his next release became a final nail in the coffin. The song by 50 Cent, called Ghetto Qu'ran, leaked on the internet before its intended drop on July 4th, with 50's debut album Power of the Dollar, and the timing of it couldn't get any worse. A couple of weeks before its leak, Supreme was the target of a shootout at a gas station for which he blamed 50, and despite getting away alive and well, he was looking over his shoulder more than usual. With Supreme's guard up, 50 song leaks on the internet, in which he name drops all the big drug dealers and kingpins in Queens, past and present, who were still fully, or at least partially active in the streets.
Team, see niggas feared Prince and respected Prem. For you slow motherfuckers, I'ma break it down illa. Supreme was the businessman and Prince was the killer. Remember? He used to push the bulletproof BM, His head get you seasick. I sat back and peeped shit. They roll with easy water then. They ain't get blunted. Had the whole projects working for 50 or 500 as a youth. All I ever did was sell crack. I used to idolize Cat. Hurt me to my heart to hear that nigga snitched on Pat. How he go out like that? Rumors in the hood was just was snitching. I ain't believe that, Paul. He helped me cop my first GSXR, had the 4 and the Z, the 5 and the 3.
50 intended to pay homage to the street legends that he looked up to and show love to the queens, but unfortunately, taking in the circumstances surrounding him at the time, Supreme and others took it differently than it was intended to be. They considered that he was snitching, airing out the street business, and cooperating with the police, which would ultimately get people in trouble.
As far as the Qu'ran was concerned, even when the Qu'ran came out, everybody that was on the record was cool with the record. They knew what it was about. It was like Corey D writing a dedication rhyme, you know what I'm saying, in the neighborhood at that point. And this is all about previous activity. It's not nothing about things they can actually be convicted for or, you know, tried on it in this situation at that point.
When they put the Qu'ran, they mentioned how many times that their name were in records in the documentary. And it was cool every time that their name was in records, but they was upset with the version that I did. And they wouldn't say nothing to me, though. They go, nah, you know. Like, when I seen him, he didn't say nothing. He didn't have a problem with the record. Then he had a problem later when law enforcement started to hold on to the record. And they're not holding the record because of what I said on it. Because they already got a separate homicide that you're sitting in here on. They already got your tapes and the dope that you got caught with in Baltimore. So what they're really holding you to is the fact that I didn't say nothing when I got hit. So they're saying he's associated to this thing with this kid, and this is why they keep bringing that into this actual case. Remember all of the snitch, you a snitch, you this is now. That's the worst thing you can be in the environment that I come up in, right? Where the snitch at in the documentary? I'm not in that case. So there's no snitch there, right?
The interesting part about Ghetto Qu'ran is that it's rumored that Supreme himself was included in the initial version of the track, had a line or two in the intro, and initially green-lighted the song. Despite all of it, the final release didn't feature any of his vocals, and he voiced his opinion on numerous occasions, stating that he saw the song as 50 dry snitching the street business.
You talked about a lot of the hustlers in Queens.
Yeah, the neighborhood.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know, but you know DJs would get beat up for playing the record.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, dope, all day. Like if you played it, DJs
Yeah,
would
certain spots.
like they would call and be like, "Don't play that record." Yeah, that's how crazy it was back then.
Not only that, but despite ruined street cred, no recording studio in the United States would take him in to record. Regardless, Supreme, after years of 50's recklessness, finally had enough of it, and with more than enough reasons to do something about it, he decided to finally put it all to the end. In fear of 50 getting him locked up or ruining his business by not keeping his mouth shut, Supreme ordered Darryl Hommo Baum to shoot and kill 50 for $20,000.
Right behind me is my grandmother's home. I came out like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, May 24th. She was bent over actually planting flowers in the garden, and I walked over here to sit in the actual vehicle that my friend was waiting for me in, and the car pulled up. On the side of us, a guy got out the passenger seat of that car, came around behind it, and shot through the actual car. I didn't feel threatened after the actual situation. When you're in those situations, like under those circumstances, either your fear consumes you or you become insensitive. When you hurt that bad. See, when somebody halfway kill you, it hurt. When they kill you, it don't look like it hurt. Like they're gone. They're not even in there. It look like they're not there. So I don't know what it feels like to die, but it doesn't look like it hurts as much as a hospital bed. But what I did learn was that after I assessed the situation, because I spent a lot of time thinking about it afterwards, and then I started to realize how weak they actually were, because I always saw about 20 or 30 people with them, and they all be dressed in black and say, "We the murderers." And then when the shooting took place, it wasn't none of those 30 people. You see what I mean? So it made me feel like all those guys are looking for an opportunity to get out of the actual hood, and they're not actually hood. Because if there was really that, they would have took the opportunity to make the few dollars and just shot me. Like the guy who shot me did it.
You eventually knew who your attempted
Who, the shooter? Yeah.
The shooter was.
The guy who shot me died like 2 weeks later. Yeah, he's from Brooklyn.
And you knew who sent him.
Yeah.
And so.
I mean, I know who I had issues with, so you know, I wasn't there for the conversation or the financial transaction.
or the nigga that shot me dead. What you want me to do? You know, a nigga that sent him to shoot me in jail. He got life.
But despite the attempt on his life, 50 not only managed to survive and come back stronger than ever, but continued to shape and dominate the hip-hop scene in the 2000s, forever establishing his name in hip-hop as one of the most influential rappers of the decade.
The positive was getting signed to Shady Aftermath.
Yeah,
Eminem.
but then getting signed to Shady Aftermath was like, it was a beautiful thing. I didn't think that they absolutely understood what they were doing when they signed me. And it's because Dre was from Los Angeles and M was from Detroit. They wasn't completely aware of my issues, but it made it perfect because M just heard the music and he did it based on the music. Like, no, this is good. Trust me, it's the next thing. And his passion at that point, like, he's in such a strong position of power. Like, he's like, I don't think people realize M sold over 100 million records. You know, at that point, if you want something and you're not asking for a lot, you're bringing a project in saying that this is the next thing, they give you the support necessary. And if it works, if the artist is good enough, it turns out you give birth to 50 Cent.